Welcome to another combat mission video. Today we're back in Normandy for the third and final round of the Utah Beach tournament, with me playing as the Americans. I'm coming out of round 2 having lost both games in the round, so the pressure is on to redeem myself. Despite that, this ended up being my favorite of the 3 scenarios in the tournament. The Germans have flooded some farm fields in an attempt to slow the American advance by preventing vehicles from passing through the area. An American infantry force has been tasked with conducting a recon mission at a farm surrounded by flooded fields at night. It's defended by a larger German force, but this isn't an attack designed to capture the farm. Points are scored for reaching a series of phase lines, some of which are in the outskirts of the farm buildings, spotting German Panzerschreck and heavy machine gun teams, as well as inflicting losses and minimizing casualties taken. The Germans score points by holding the farm buildings and both bridges, as well as inflicting casualties and minimizing their own losses. To support the mission, the American side has plenty of off-map mortar support and multiple target reference points. Neither side has access to vehicles, so this is purely an infantry engagement. The most obvious feature of the map is the water. It looks like there was a river or stream that was dammed to cause the flood, as there are 2 existing road bridges crossing the water. The water itself is shallow enough for infantry to cross at any point. The farm is a small grouping of 1- and 2-story buildings sitting at a road junction in the middle of the map, and surrounded by small fields edged with bocage. There's not much elevation, so the bocage is going to be the main thing breaking up line of sight. It's nighttime, but it's clear, and visibility of terrain doesn't seem to be too restricted, but visibility of enemy troops was definitely hampered. The objectives I need to reach are a phase line immediately across the water, a phase line surrounding the farm buildings, and then objectives Gold and Ruby located inside buildings at the edge of the farm. All of these are touch objectives. I don't need to hold them, only get a unit there briefly. The American deployment zone was the entire left and upper edges of the map, with the water being crossable at all points. There were a lot of options for approaching the farm. The scenario gave a bit of intel on defenders, which is why you can see a few partial spot markers already. My forces did start off knowing a few of the German positions. I placed a light mortar team and a forward observer in the lower corner of the map, as there was limited bocage from that angle, so I hoped they could see into some of the fields and spot German positions to hit with the mortar. The rest of my force is starting in the upper section. I've picked 2 approaches, one towards Objective Gold and one towards Objective Ruby. The approaches to Objective Gold is through a small field with a barn edged with bocage. I'll be setting up machine gun teams on my side of the water to provide suppression, while the bocage on the sides of the field should offer my troops cover as they advance. This will hopefully allow me to concentrate my force on a small section of the defender's line without taking fire from multiple directions. The approach to Objective Ruby is a bit more complicated. I plan to use the 1 Pioneer squad I have to blast my way through the bocage in order to reach the field that should allow me to carry out the same plan as Objective Gold. I can have troops in the hedges providing suppression, while the rest of my force advances through a field that will provide protection from most of the German positions. My entire plan for both approaches is to minimize how exposed I am to defending positions by attacking through narrow fields. Concentrating my troops like that will make them tempting targets for enemy mortars though, but that's a risk I'll have to take. Starting off turn 1, I have one of the Pioneer fire teams. I've split the squad into 2 so that one doesn't get blasted right away if they do something bad. They're going to go blow a hole in some hedges to let a squad that's been split into its 3 parts. They're going to pass through into the first little flooded field there and take a look around. I also have a pretty heavy mortar barrage coming down. I have 6 off-map 81mm mortars, and I had 4 target reference points. So combined with my intel of where some German positions are, I've decided just to bombard the entire area in the opening stages of the game here. Over on the other side, heading towards Objective Gold, I just have everyone holding still right now. I don't want them to move forward until I've had a chance to look around a little bit. Is a bit of a wider view of the entire area, so you can see I've got a position set up with the machine gunners in a hedge line. My sniper is up there. They're all just waiting to see somebody they can shoot at, and for the rest of the troops to advance. Down in the closer area, the Pioneers blast a hole in the hedges and start moving through. Some of the mortars are coming dangerously close off target, and there we have my first little friendly fire incident where I take some shrapnel and I do lose one man and a couple injuries from that. Bit unfortunate. With my first group now through a hole and not coming under fire, I've set the other Pioneer team to blast a hole for the rest of my forces that are chilling out on the road there to start moving forward. So the second wave can start advancing since the first group doesn't seem to be having any issues. I'm trying to get them up to the next row of hedges so they can take a look around at what might be beyond them. While the larger group is creeping through the field and the next group is moving up to join them, I do have a small two-man rifle team that I split off. They're going to be scouting up between the bridge and the hedges just for a second view on if anything is in between there before the rest of my troops make it to the edge of the field. Taking a look at the objective gold side, I've ordered a 30-second barrage of fire into the barn, just trying to do a little bit of recon by fire. I'm hoping some German defenders will see the muzzle flashes and fire back at me, and that way I'll know where they are and can concentrate some more of my own troops on them. However, it doesn't look like anyone's taking the bait. Back to the approach to Objective Ruby. I've got some infantry that are now peering through the hedges into the little gap between the two hedgerows. Not seeing anything there, so my Pioneers are moving forward to blast another hole so I can get access to the next field in the chain towards the objectives. And the Pioneers are going to do what they do best and rig that section up to explode to poke a nice big hole for me to go through. At the end of turn 5, I did get some reinforcements. This looks like it's the company command. So an HQ team, the XO teams, the HQ support teams. And they started kind of off to the side, so I'm just moving them up. Hopefully they can get in on the action. They've been promoted to frontline infantry for this one. Have that two-man rifle team that I split off as a scout team. They're continuing to advance into the field where they're starting to get closer to Objective Ruby. They are starting to see some foxholes pop up, but they're not actually seeing any enemy infantry in them, so I don't know if these positions are defended or if they've been abandoned or everyone got killed by mortars. Would be the best case scenario for me. So they're going to continue moving forward on a hunt order just to take a look around and see if they can make contact with the enemy. That engine you heard in the background was a Jeep. I did start with one. I did absolutely nothing with it because it didn't seem like it was going to be useful, so it just sat in my deployment. And all that splashing that you heard was all of the follow-up infantry. So the two-man team has moved up ahead, and I've got everyone else following along behind them, getting ready to go through the hole that the Pioneers have blasted for them. So I'm calling in some more mortar strikes to hit some of the positions that I've started to spot, but still no Germans yet, but I have my infantry continuing to advance. They're going to start filling out positions along the hedges, so if I do spot anything, I can hit it from multiple angles. And here we go, the first shot's fired, and MG42 opens up on my team. So the MG42 didn't inflict any initial casualties. My Pioneer team does go blow another hole into the next field over on the left, while the rest of my infantry that are in the hedges start opening up onto the spotted Germans. But the German mortars start coming down. So clearly I was on a target reference point of the German side and have started to receive a barrage now that I've been spotted. And I'm going to start taking some casualties from both the mortars and machine gun fire. Some of his mortar rounds do land a little bit short and end up hitting his own foxholes. So I'm hoping he took an equal number of casualties from those. In the background, you can see my own mortars have come down with a smoke screen, and that's going to help screen off my troops that are going to start moving towards Objective Gold. But otherwise, we got the first kind of major infantry engagement going on here, while my troops are cowering in a hedge, hoping not to catch mortar shrapnel at the moment. I don't want to lose momentum on my attack, so I'm moving the pioneers through to blast another hole in the next field to give me another angle to fire at the foxholes. However, as they go through the gap they previously blew, they come under fire from a German squad that I hadn't previously spotted, and I lose the entire pioneer squad in pretty much one volley of fire there. Then the infantry that were following up behind them also walk into the same German team and also get taken out. Combined with the mortar fire coming down, I lost somewhere around 15% of my force in this one turn, which is an absolute disaster when I have such a small force to begin with. So that is going to be very difficult to recover from, but I do have those reinforcement HQ teams that are starting to fire back. But yeah, disaster of a turn for me there. And well, the answer to that minor setback is going to be more mortar fire. So I have additional orders being called in. You can hear there my mortar teams. I've cancelled one and moved where they're going to strike to where I've now confirmed there are Germans. Otherwise, I have a barrage coming down once again on Objective Ruby, since it looks like it is reasonably well defended. Over on the far right hand side there, you can see I've started to move teams across into the field. I've used the smoke that my mortars laid in the last couple turns to help give them a little bit more cover as they're moving across the water, because they're a little bit vulnerable. So they are now getting in position, and they have the machine guns on my side of the water covering them in case any defenders get spotted. But otherwise, they're going to start a slow push up along that field. My goal is to get them into the barn. That German mortar barrage did a pretty good job of sapping my momentum, including losing my pioneers and a bunch of infantry trying to go through another field. So I've had to slow up a little bit, and I've started to get the 60mm mortars that have pretty good visual range. They're going to start dropping some of their bombs into the areas that I've spotted Germans. I've also got the HQ teams trying to suppress where I encountered the Germans on the opposite side of the field. So now it's just going to be a game of blasting the positions for a little bit with some artillery fire, and hope that's enough to allow me to continue on with my advance. So you can see the bombs coming in from the far side, reaching all the way over and landing directly into the hedgerows where I've spotted Germans. And then we get a German who's going to try and run over to reinforce that position, but as machine gun fire comes in and mortars come down, he's going to decide maybe that's not a good idea. My 81mm off-map mortars have ceased firing for the moment, but I'm still taking some MP40 fire from the hedge line, so I still have the 60mm mortars firing. I've got two of them coming down, one on the hedge in the bottom left, and then one in the problematic hedge right towards the middle. So I'm just going to rain some shells down on them for a little while, and hopefully I can clear out whatever was there. Back on the Objective Gold side, I have a fire team that is creeping up along the hedge on the edge of the field to see if they can spot where any German positions are. And I have my second 30 cal machine gun starting to fire towards the buildings and hedges. They're trying to do recon by fire again to see if they can get any response, and this time they do. Some MG42 fire comes back in their direction. So there are definitely some defenders in the foxholes outside of Objective Gold there. So my machine gun team is going to continue to shoot in their direction, lob some rifle grenades over there. And eventually, I'm hoping I will actually spot one of the teams. And there we go. We've got a German squad that's popped up in the foxholes. So I have some confirmed spots, and I have something that I can start directing my fire at. And here we have what the machine gun team has spotted, a lone German hiding behind a tree, and they're going to make pretty quick work of him. He's obviously going to have some friends nearby, so hopefully they'll be able to spot them and take them out in subsequent turns. Back to the Objective Ruby side, still letting those 60mm mortars come down, pretty much until I stop getting return fire from the hedges. Just keep letting them go until they run out of ammo. But it seems to be quieting down a little bit, and now I have some more mortars coming down, and from the angle, these are German mortars, but they're falling quite short, and it looks like he's mostly hitting his own troops with those. So not sure what happened there, but Hey, I'll take it. Some free mortar fire on his lines. My teams that were moving through the farm field have now encountered some Germans set up in the upper floor of a two-story building. And the BAR team that I left behind at the edge of the water is going to start putting some fire towards them. And they're actually going to get a kill through the window there, which is kind of impressive given the range and general conditions. I managed to move the remnants of the Pioneer squad up a little closer, and they made contact with German in a foxhole outside of Objective Ruby, and they're going to manage to take him out, which should free them up to advance a little bit more. Back on the Objective Gold side, I'm starting to get the first of my fire teams into the barn itself, which should give them a bit better view into the next field over, where they've encountered some resistance. As they do so, they are going to start spotting more foxholes in between, and exchanging some fire with Germans. Looks like I get another one killed in the building there. But then as my squad enters the barn itself, they're going to spot some Germans occupying those foxholes and start trading some fire. And there's the squad spotted. And they managed to get one quick casualty, and the other guy decides to try to make a run for it, but he's not going to make it, getting taken down by a Thompson submachine gun there, firing a quick burst into his back. But then a German decides to fire a Panzerfaust into the building that my squad was in, and I can take a bunch of casualties from that. The area around Objective Ruby has been blasted to oblivion by so many mortar rounds, so I'm getting the Pioneer squad to rush forward. They're going to take a quick break in the foxholes, and then they're going to try and grab that phase line because it's so close to them. However, they do encounter another foxhole with some Germans in it on the dirt road. However, they do get the objective, so they've touched the phase line. Unfortunately, they are both going to lose their lives doing so, getting gunned down right after there, but their sacrifice will be remembered. I'm starting to struggle a lot with the approach to Objective Gold. My whole plan was to punch through this small field and focus my fire on a small portion of the German line. Unfortunately, the Germans don't really have much of a defense at the other end of this field. Most of their defense is on the neighboring field, which can see the last little bit of approach to Objective Gold. So I'm running into problems where, as I'm trying to cross that last 30-meter gap to get to the objective, I'm taking fire from the right-hand side over right above where you can see PL Red, those foxholes, and that two-story building. I don't have a very large force going for Objective Gold, and my machine guns can't really get a good view to fire at where the Germans are. So it's starting to become a real problem for my push here. Since my mortar teams have run out of ammunition, I'm starting to move them forward. I'm going to have them cross the river, and they're going to go into that field on the right of the one that I've been pushing through and try to get me another angle of fire onto the German defenders. They are armed with carbines, so they have a decent amount of firepower at this range, and I'm hoping they can pin down the Germans in the foxholes and in the buildings. I do have my mortar from the far corner of the map start firing, but they immediately get spotted and take return MG42 fire. My sniper teams managed to move up a little bit, and they are hiding in the hedges, and as they do so, a German suddenly comes running towards them, and they manage to shoot him pretty quick. Back on the Objective Ruby side, I'm starting to do a little bit of recon by fire into the hedges. This is where I've lost all my Pioneers, so they're just going to shoot into the hedges there after all the 60mm mortars have come down. And I'm trying to check to see if there's anyone left alive, and there's some return fire for an MP40. So yeah, it looks like there are definitely still some Germans alive in that opposite hedge, so it's not clear for me to advance through yet. Gonna need to hit them a little harder. I'm now 18 turns in, and this is when I actually took a closer look at my forces and started to realize that some of them are actually green, some are regulars, and some are veterans. So quite a mix of experience levels across my force, and I hadn't noticed that before. So I've actually gone through and I've tried to pull out the veteran squads and start to use them to do my pushes and leaving the green squads back as fire support. So I've grabbed one of the platoon HQ teams and pushed them forward to try and clear out the foxholes on the dirt road. And they actually do a pretty good job. I push them up where they can poke their heads through the hedges and start opening fire into the foxholes themselves. And I have another fire team moving up to support them as they do so, and a third team moving up as well. So these are a group of veterans who are hopefully going to be a little bit more effective on the assault, and they do a pretty quick job of clearing out the rest of those foxholes with small arms fire and grenades. Since there's still some stubborn German resistance hanging out in the hedges, I move another group up to help suppress them and hopefully kill them. So with 2 fire teams there putting some fire into the hedges, hopefully that gives me enough fire superiority to finish off whatever is hiding back there. And I'm sure you can hear all the artillery coming down. This is something that I saw happen in a previous game. I think what happened is I suppressed or killed the team that called for the strike, and it has actually gone wildly off target and is not landing anywhere near my troops, which is very good for me at this point. With the foxholes on the road cleared out, I send one of the small teams forward. It's just 2 men left in this one. They're going to rush forward and try and get to Objective Ruby because it looks like the building is empty. However, it is not as empty as I had hoped. It seems like the Germans were just not shooting back at me. They probably didn't have me spotted. As I close in and get the touch objective, my 2 men come under fire and are going to get taken out, unfortunately, very quickly. Once again, their sacrifice will be remembered. The rest of my support fire back there is going to start shooting at the building as well, though, and they're going to get a couple casualties of their own, so at least get a little bit of vengeance right away. But that was the second to last touch objective. I just have objective gold left to touch, and then I will have all of my objectives. Let's take a look at objective gold and how things are progressing here. I get more troops up into the barn, and there is a foxhole full of Germans in between them and objective gold. But you can see my mortar teams have made it across, and they're going to start getting into position where they can help support. And this is exactly what I was planning to do with this little push here, with the mortar teams moving up. They're going to start getting some shots in from a different angle to help suppress the Germans in the foxholes. And combined with the guys in the buildings, hopefully I'll be able to clear them out. However, I am going to take, I think it was a wound. I don't think I actually lost a guy there, but pretty heavy exchange of fire going back and forth, and I do suppress the Germans quite quickly, which will hopefully give me the opportunity to close in and take them out with a grenade. Before I have a chance to do so, the team is actually going to decide they want to get out of there, and they're going to start leaving the foxholes and running away, and not all of them are going to make it, some taking some shots in the back as they go there. This time I do take a casualty in the barn, losing yet another one of my very limited infantry that's remaining on this side. But I've also decided that the best way to take care of all these foxholes and the buildings full of Germans here is just to hit them with some more mortars. So calling in yet another mortar barrage, you can see getting a quick casualty there, a couple unit icons disappear. Unfortunately, calling in mortars this close to my own troops, over on the left, I do lose a man in the bush, take some shrapnel. Friendly fire is going to happen when you're dropping mortars basically on top of your own troops at the same time. So really just hoping I'm getting more Germans than my own guys. Looks like so far I've done a good job of that. Something that I haven't shown until now is the forward observer team has been slowly creeping their way up the road pretty much the entire game now. And they have finally made it to the outskirts of the farm, and they're starting to see some of the Germans that have been fleeing from my mortar barrage and my attack into objective gold. So a little bit of engagement breaks out as the fleeing Germans run right into the forward observer team and start coming under fire. Don't really expect them to do a whole lot. They kind of crept up for a long way and there's only 3 of them, but we'll see what they can do. The mortars are continuing to rain down. I think I have the mortars just set to expend the rest of their ammo, blasting whatever's left around Objective Gold. Hopefully it will blast enough of a path for me to get in and touch that last objective. So I've turned off the tree foliage, something I probably should have done a little bit earlier to give a better view of the map, but I thought it was pretty with all the trees, so I had it on for a while, but they were starting to really get in the way, so they're off. And I've started a big assault in towards Objective Ruby, the building that I found a few Germans in. And I'm sure you're thinking, but Valdis, why are you attacking the building? You already got the touch objective, you don't need to assault it. That is a very good question. I don't know why I decided to do this. I had the touch objective. There is no reason for me to launch a big attack like this. I guess I just was out for blood. I wanted to try and get the points for destroying the defenders. So I start running some squads up to get a bunch of angles and put a bunch of fire onto the remaining building there. The forward observer team, having dealt with the small group of Germans that popped up on the road, they are continuing to hunt forward. A whole bunch of foxholes on the opposite side of the hedges that they can see. And they have a suspicion of an enemy team, which they have now confirmed. So they're going to start shooting through the hedge at each other. One of them is going to start pitching some grenades over the hedge, and there we go, a good grenade hit there with 3 confirmed casualties. I do lose one of my forward observers, but I will take a forward observer traded for what is essentially an entire machine gun team here. As the grenades have killed a bunch, and now the last guy is going to hide outside of the foxhole. And they'll take a few moments to find each other, but my forward observers are going to continue shooting, and they are eventually going to get him and finish them off. There's only 8 turns left, and I still haven't made it to Objective Gold, so I'm starting to feel the time pressure a little bit here. So I'm starting to make some aggressive moves towards taking it. However, I'm also starting to suffer some morale problems, so you're going to see my troops are going to start breaking when they're coming under fire and stop responding to orders. Which is going to pose a little bit of a problem when I need them to make some aggressive pushes here. But otherwise, I'm just continuing with the same plan as before, trying to push forward towards Objective Gold, using machine gun fire and support fire to pin the Germans in the way. Back over on the Objective Ruby side, my futile and pointless attack into the building is continuing. Trying to put as much suppressing fire as I can into it while I get some troops ready to storm it. I believe right now I was trying to get them close enough to pop smoke to give them a little bit of concealment as they make the final charge through the doorways. Yeah, here we have the HQ team, because they were my veterans. They're going to try and storm in the building, hoping that the Germans were suppressed enough. They're going to get right to the door and start firing inside. And I can hear by the scream they got something inside, but I don't actually see a casualty. Ah, there we go. A guy in the window is going to kill both of them, but I do see that I killed at least one inside. However, there's still 2 more Germans in there. I'm going to pose a bit of a problem because I believe they both have MP40s, so not something you really want to be running into. Okay, here's the whole situation as it stands right now. Objective Ruby, again, taken, pushing into the building. I did pop some smoke to block off the doorway. Over on Objective Gold, I'm running out of troops quite rapidly, but I am getting very close to Objective Gold. I have some infantry and the sniper both within short sprint distance of making it to the objective. The German defenders are still putting up some stiff resistance in a couple different spots, but it looks like I've cleared a significant portion of them out at least. With now 6 turns to go, I've decided to go for it. I've got the one man who's going to make a mad dash to try and get into the buildings for objective gold, and the sniper team is going to quickly follow up behind just in case anything happens to him. He is going to make it, and he's going to get the touch objective. I didn't actually need to tell him to go into the building. I could have got the touch objective just from outside, and then the sniper is going to follow right in behind, and they are immediately going to come under fire from a building on the opposite side of the road. It's a bit of a mistake on my part there. I could have just had him get the touch objective and stay outside the building where they were safe. Instead, they're going to come under pretty heavy fire, and the one man is going to break and try to run, and the sniper team is going to take casualty from the incoming fire. But that is the final objective that I needed to reach. And my forward observer team that has been doing such a good job for me is unfortunately going to get snuck up on by a German squad who's going to throw a grenade and kill one of them. Got a lot of value out of these guys though, so not too sad to lose them at this point. My initial plan with putting up the smoke was to use it to storm the buildings under cover of the smoke. However, I've decided that it is pointless for me to continue pushing this objective and continuing to take casualties, so I'm actually putting more smoke down, and I'm going to use that to try and cover my fallback from these positions instead. Try and preserve whatever troops I can. I'm pretty sure I'm nowhere near the casualty cutoff, so I'm not going to get the points for that, but I might as well make an effort to save as many as I can. And here we have that in full effect in turn 25. So at Objective Ruby, you can see I'm pulling back all of my troops with the smoke, covering their retreat. And over near Objective Gold, I'm starting to pull troops back out of the barn area, so they're no longer exposed to fire either. And I'm trying to get the troops that were remaining in the hedges to give covering fire as best they can while this is happening. So there are 5 turns left in the game, however I'm not going to show them because I fell back to safer positions and pretty much just waited out the last 5 turns. I didn't see much point in continuing to push forward, and my opponent didn't make any effort to chase me down because he didn't really have a whole lot of reason to either. So I just retreated to safer positions and let the final 5 turns pass. And here's going to be close to my endgame positions right here after I've conducted my retreat. I did leave troops in position to secure the bridges and also still get my points, deny the points on the German side for occupying the farm buildings. And that brings us to the end of round 3 of the Utah Beach tournament with me playing as the Americans. It ends with a U.S. Army major victory. I have 57 men left okay, 33 men killed, 16 men wounded, 1 man surrendered. The Germans have 31 men left with 45 killed and 40 wounded. So pretty heavy casualties inflicted upon the defenders in that one, but unfortunately I took a pretty substantial amount of casualties myself. For the objectives, I managed to get all of my touch objectives. However, I did not get the points for friendly casualties because I took so many in the attack. It was a very enjoyable scenario and my favorite of the tournament. Alright, thanks for watching everyone, and I'll catch you in the next one.